All right, our next speaker is Suzanne Murphy, and completely different now. So a senior leader in market research for Mondelez, which for those of you that know is a food brand. So we can see here, hopefully you've got her photo on that up on the screen if my screen's working. So she loved maths at school, and after doing science course with honours in statistics, eventually found herself in the world of marketing and consumer research. Over the years, she's worked on some big food and drink brands across Australia, New Zealand, so China and Japan, and she's now employed with one of the largest snacking companies, Mondelez, as a senior leader in market research.
Amazing talk by Priyani. I've got quite a different story, so it's good, I think. I'm Suzanne. Nice to meet you over Zoom. I've been meeting a lot of people over Zoom recently. It seems to be the way of the world. So I work for a company called Mondelez. Now, I'm sure most of you have got no idea who that is, but when I start mentioning or showing you some of the products that we actually make, you might be a little bit more familiar. So can you see here, Oreo, Cadbury is probably the most favourite one. I couldn't find the Cadbury block. The kids have eaten it. This is actually a block of Cadbury from Canada. Also Ritz, we make Ritz crackers, Cherry Ripe, probably a lot of your sort of favourite snacks that you've enjoyed over the years. So as it was introduced, I work in market research. So again, it's very different to being an engineer, but I do come to that industry with a love of maths, and that's really what has led me to be working in market research. And really, what is it all about? And I'll talk a lot about what market research is, because I think it's really interesting. It's all about really helping the business. So in my case, it's a snacking company, Mondelez, to really understand our customers, the market, and also our competitors, to really help us plan our business strategies. And I work really closely with lots of people, but in particular the marketing team. So we're working on the new products, the new advertising, to make sure that our products stay, relevant and exciting to everyone who enjoys consuming our product. But I do use maths in my role every day. So I was sort of looking for a kind of funny, cute meme about maths, and I thought this one was kind of cute. I won't read it out to you. I'm sure you can all read it. But one thing that really struck me when I was looking around for like a cool meme about maths was a lot of the memes were really negative, and it was kind of alarming. And it was really hard to find something quite positive about maths. And I think, I don't know about you, but over the years, I've heard so many people say I'm not good at maths. And that kind of makes me, really sad, because could you imagine if people said, I'm not good at reading? I just think that would probably be pretty socially unacceptable. And in fact, I think people would be quite embarrassed to make that kind of claim. So I sort of wonder why it's kind of okay to be openly kind of negative about maths, and why do so many people openly claim to dislike it? It's kind of weird to me, because I really love maths, and I think I've been working. I've got kids who are in secondary school. I've been working for a long time now, because I just think maths and the analytical thinking that maths brings to whatever role you're doing, and in my case it's market research in a business setting, really sort of sets you apart. So from my perspective, I really encourage you to really stick with maths. I think it can set you up for so many opportunities, as it gives you sort of skills that obviously a lot of people don't enjoy maths. So if you can actually follow it through, you actually do bring unique skills to employees, which makes you really attractive as a future candidate for roles moving forward. So on that theme, maths, really has opened doors for me. And, it was my favourite subject at school. I actually, at the end of school, didn't know what I wanted to do. So I actually ended up doing a science and a law degree. And as part of the science part of my degree, I actually ended up majoring in statistics. And at the end of my honours degree in statistics, I had so many job opportunities. I actually walked away from the world of law and have really, never looked back. And I was just going to reflect on a couple of the other jobs that I have done with my maths degree, just to give you a sense of just the scope it can offer. So my first role was actually working at the Bureau of Statistics. That's actually a government agency that runs the census. And I'm sure you've all heard of the census, which happens every 4 years and collects vital information about the community. And also they run the unemployment survey as well. So I spent my first couple of years working on questionnaires and analysing data from those surveys to identify direct trends to help the government with their planning. So, my maths was having a real impact. My next role, I moved to a different industry. I actually worked in the medical industry as a statistical consultant, analysing clinical trial information. So that basically is when they're developing new drugs and when they've been obviously perhaps developing the COVID vaccines, which is pretty topical. They do, obviously people are involved in those trials and they have to answer questionnaires and they collect data to ensure that the drug or the vaccine is actually working and safe. So I was actually doing work analysing that sort of data set. And after that, I landed a job in the business world in the food industry. And I've really been working in market research in marketing ever since. And I think I just really want to share with you a little bit more about the market research industry, as I think it's a great industry that I don't know if a lot of people know a lot about. I know when I was at school, I hadn't heard of it until a friend of mine stumbled on a role in the market research industry. And it's a great industry where, math skills are really, really important. So what is, when I ramble on about market research, what do I actually mean? So in a business sense, it's actually a tool that's used to help businesses plan and answer sort of key business questions. So at a big snacking company like myself, we actually do a lot of planning by all the different brands that we own. So for example, for Cadbury, every year we're planning out, what are our new products going to be? What's our new advertising going to be? What are the opportunities that we can sort of tap into? Are there any concerns that we need to address? And the area that I work in, the market research area, we are critical because we are the team that collects all the information that provides the learnings or the insights into our customers. So customers could be the people who buy and eat our products. To Coles and Woolies are a big customer of ours. We sell obviously a lot of our products through supermarkets. And we also look at, how people are buying products, how often they're buying it. It's also, really important to help us sort of monitor market trends. So what are people snacking on today and why and when, and what's sort of happening around the world, what could be happening in the future, what are the new trends that we need to be tapping into. But also we also play a role in keeping an eye on what the competitor is doing and understand and anticipating what their next move is, so we can stay, on top in terms of our sort of share or market share of the snacking industry. So, as I mentioned, market research, we are about collecting information. And I think even more importantly, we're about then analysing that information and then pulling it into recommendations for the business to action so they can keep driving growth of our brands. But there are a number of ways that we collect information. And you've probably all done a survey. I'm sure at school you do surveys as well. So we obviously do a lot of surveys to understand what people are doing. We actually also do interviews. So we interview our customers, the people who are buying our products, to ask them particular questions about, for example, perhaps we're thinking of a new product. We may speak to them to find out what they like about the product and why or why not they would buy the product. We also do focus groups. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of focus groups. Basically, what a focus group is, it's like a big group interview. So, for example, recently we ran some focus groups where we got a lot of mums who had older children at high school, so your sort of age, to find out what they liked about Oreo and why they purchased us, to help us with our future planning. And the other thing that we do is observation. So we actually, we don't necessarily do it ourselves, but we will get people to, and with obviously the permission of the person who's shopping, to actually view people shopping to see how they shop the aisle, or actually video people in their home to see how they're using our products. And obviously all this data that's collected, we then need to make sense of it all, because and then provide a really clear, I suppose, recommendation to the business on what the data means and how we're going to action it. So I just have got a really small example of a question that we were asked as a team last year. Obviously, last year with the whole COVID pandemic, it was a really had a lot of impact for a lot of people. And one thing that we were monitoring was, how are consumer snacking habits changing? How are they changing last year, given the change in people's lifestyle? And we were lucky enough that we'd done a survey in 2019 that we could compare these results to. So this is an example of a survey. So we actually set up a survey where we interviewed 500 people across Australia, and we spoke to people aged 18 to 65, and they completed a 10-minute survey. And we then needed to analyse the data that came back from all the questions, and really using sort of things like significant testing to really determine, what had actually changed from last year, and then what did that mean for our snacking business. And just some interesting things that came out, and you've probably seen some of this talked about potentially in the media. People were snacking more. 9 in 10 people that we spoke to snacked the same or more. So there was a lot more snacking going on because people, were at home, so they had access to snacks more easily. Why were they snacking? Well, it was kind of interesting. Comfort was the number one reason for snacking. So, it was a nice time to sort of get together with the people that they were with, to sort of share some time together and sort of chat with those around them. We found the people who were over 40 were actually buying their old favourite or traditional snacks, and really enjoying the snacks from their childhood, probably as just to sort of, I suppose, make them feel a level of sort of comfort, and it brought back kind of good memories. For people who are under 40, actually they were eating more healthier snacks. So things like, things with protein or things that were kind of plant-based became, even more important for people who are under 40. So these are just, I suppose, a couple of snippets of the learnings that we found from our study into how snacking habits were changing. And then what we had to do with all these information is actually explain to the business, well, what do we need to do as a result of this, of these learnings, and how do we need to change our strategy moving forward? And I suppose, what do I love about my job? There are many things. I think working in a very dynamic snacking world, it's very fast. Things are changing every day, and every day there is a new challenge that we are faced with that we need to address. So there's a lot of variety. I mean, I'm working on trying new products one day. We're down at the advertising agency the next day, looking at different ideas for new advertising. We're talking to Coles about what are the future of snacks and how they should perhaps lay out their supermarkets. We're working with overseas, our colleagues overseas, to understand what's happening in their market and whether it will also some of those changes will then apply to our market. So there's just so much variety. So it is really, really quite stimulating. For me, there is obviously some maths involved. Definitely, we do have a lot of data sets that we're analysing and making sense of for the business. But also there is an art as well. There is a level of creativity, and advertising and a lot of the marketing side has a very high level of creativity, which we need to bring as well when we are looking at ads or products. It's not just about the numbers. There's also the skill around creatively, is this going to work? I've also been fortunate enough to travel. I worked on Japan for about 2 years, which was pretty amazing. Snacking market and a pretty amazing place to be involved in. I've travelled to China, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and the US. So fantastic. It's a big multinational company. There's certainly a lot of flexibility. I worked part-time, I've worked full-time, I've worked from home, I've worked in the office. So it's great from that point of view. I get to collaborate with a lot of different people. So I work with the scientists who are developing our products. I work with the engineers who are designing our factories. I talk to the accountants about whether the products, it's making sense. The products are going to make the right amount of profit for the business. Obviously, we work very closely with the marketing team as well to help them build their plans. Also, a lot of time with the sales team and how we can sort of work with the retailers, mainly Coles and Woolies. And I must say, it's something that is, from my point of view, really, really fun. And I can honestly say, I do enjoy getting up to go to work every day. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. That was great. And obviously, yes, just a completely different perspective of how you can engage with maths and science in a job. I certainly know, probably, yes, when I was at school, you just kind of didn't really appreciate how many aspects of all different jobs that use maths and science, apart from those that perhaps had a really big focus on it. But yes, you don't quite appreciate all the different ins and outs of the companies and how helpful it is to keep that maths and science up in VCE.